Hello everybody, it's Lucky Finn Gaming here, and welcome back to Ark Survival Evolved, where today we're going to be talking about uh, Arks Oceans, or really the content lack thereof in Arks Oceans. So, without further ado, let's get into this. Alright guys, and to start off with, you may notice that today I'm filming on the island instead of my usual spot on Ragnarok. That is because this is really kind of where the buck stops when it comes to ocean or water content in Ark Survival Evolved, though Ragnarok definitely has a much larger ocean than the island. The island has the most things to do underwater, or in the ocean at the very least. If just about the area where I'm at, I have a basilosaur here in case I decide to do it. I'm not sure that I'm going to go into the cave today, but there is a cave around here, and that is kind of the point that I wanted to make. There are two underwater caves on the island here, but again, that's kind of where it all stops. The rest of the maps do not have anything underwater. They at least not that I can think of. None of the maps have any underwater artifacts or anything. The island is the only place where any water took place. And today I want to talk about why do I think that uh, Wildcard cut out the oceans out of the further maps, because if you think about it, the island is again kind of where the buck stops when it comes to ocean content. Um, the next three maps after the island didn't have any ocean content at all. The Scorched Earth obviously didn't have any ocean because, I mean, it was based in a desert. But then next came Aberration, and Aberration had, though it had many waterways and rivers, it did not do anything in the water. Um, no water artifacts. It had a few animals which could help you get things like silica pearls, and it of course did have silica pearls, but they were mostly only added like the annoying animals like anglerfish and electric eels. So I don't know if you see my thing do that. My remote's a little broken. Um, about the only thing that seems to be consistent for needing to go underwater is these right here, uh, these little oil things. The oil nodes. This is the only thing that seems consistently necessary for the waterways on every other map. And even then, some maps don't even have these underwater. You can get them above water. Maps like Valguero and Crystal Isles have them above water, so you don't even have to go into the water for these most of the time, or some of the time. Um, like Valguero has that oil cave that you can go to. Of course, most of the time it's taken. Somebody's built in there, but you know, whatever. Anyway, then of course there's silica pearls, but again, silica pearls you can get through multiple other ways. Take for example on Extinction, you don't even get silica pearls, you actually get this stuff called silicate. Hold on. Oh, that's right. I forgot the basilosaur could only go so deep underwater before it starts taking damage. Just go ahead and get him up here so that way he doesn't get hurt anymore. I know it's only a virtual animal, but I still don't want them to get hurt. Anyway, though, guys, I just need to go down there to show you guys. These are the only things that have consistently been needed for the ocean. And then, of course, there's black pearls. But even on Ragnarok, you can kill the Euryptides in Viking Bay. You don't even have to go into the deep ocean to get black pearls. So it's always been fairly interesting to me that it seemed like at first, when they were first working on the island, they were adding a lot to the ocean. The basilosaur was actually one of the later additions here. But I remember there was a whole update surrounding the ocean. At first, the only two things you could get in the ocean was the Megalodon and the Ichthyosaur. Those were literally the only two things you could have in the ocean on originally. Um, And then, of course, they had a big update where they added the mosasaur and the plesiosaur. Um, and then they acted like the ocean was going to become a big thing. I remember back in the day, these seaweeds and all this underwater grass. This wasn't here. This was all just blank. It was all just blank slate. Of course, we always had these little like coelacanth fish, and I bet you this one's going to swim out. Nope, he's going to stop. Anyway, um, they added a lot of the ocean stuff. Like they were gonna make the ocean a big deal, but then after that, it just kind of fell off. And I know I said I was discussing why this happened, but really, guys, I don't have an answer. I really can't tell you. That Wildcard has never really brought it up. The only update after the island that we would get, where we would get any kind of oceanic content, would be in Genesis 1. 4 maps later, would be the first time we would get ocean content, and it wouldn't even add any extra ocean animals, except for the giant turtle. Instead, only adding. Let me see if I can find it. I'm just gonna type it in. Only adding these ocean platforms here, which give you the ability to build on the ocean, kind of like a raft. But even still, they didn't add any ocean animals. It's very interesting, however, as I noted in one of my Genesis Part 2 videos, almost every Genesis Part 2 animal does have the ability to go underwater without any airways. So it's actually interesting that Genesis Part 2, despite adding almost no ocean content, the ocean is almost pointless on that map. They added the ability for all the animals to go underwater. So very interesting there. But really, there was only one consistent meta for the ocean, and it's one that they absolutely ruined. And of course, it's what I have right here. It's the raft. But as we all know, all of us old raft meta people, as we all know, there is a scourge of the sea that where rafts just were completely made pointless, and that is the lead sickness. I don't even know that I want to go in there because I know I'm going to get attacked. Lead sickness are all over this map. Um, Now, despite back in the day, I was one of those people. It used to be a really strong meta for smaller tribes before they had small tribe servers and everything, which were slightly boosted. I remember back in the day when it was just me and my brother on official before I got in with some of the mega tribes. The raft was the way to go. If you were a solo, duo, or even trio, raft meta was it for you. It would somewhat ensure your safety because most of the alpha tribes they would build on the islands, Carno or Herb, or even the ice pillars back in your blue op. But if you were on a raft, most of the time they were going to leave you alone. As long as you didn't mess with them, they wouldn't mess with you, and little raiders who, they were, the little, we've all dealt with them, the little dickheads who just come and blow into little bases. They don't really care what's in there, they're just doing it to troll. This would keep you safe from them. Unfortunately, once again, as I said a moment ago, that meta was completely ruined by the lead sickness. I think they did that because they knew that was the only consistent meta, and they wanted to force people back underwater. But I really don't understand why, because they never added anything more to do underwater. It was always very confusing to me that they designed a lot of stuff. Like, I remember the Tuso Toothus came long time after the big ocean update. But I remember that really the Tusoteuthis and the Basilosaur both, they were just kind of undersung. The only one that would be kind of brought up would be the Liopleurodon. If anybody even remembers that thing exists, and that was designed to, you'd have to tame it with honey. It was right after they added honey to the game. You'd have to tame it with honey, and it would boost the drops slightly. And it seems like, other than deep ocean drops, that was the only thing that ever seemed to get added to the ocean. After that, it was all downhill for the ocean. People stopped using rafts for obvious reasons. Like I said, raft meta is really dead because of the lead sickness. The only place where you can really use rafts is on Ragnarok, where the lead sicknesses don't spawn. But I've heard that the lead sickness are going to start spawning on Ragnarok again in a future update. I mean, we'll see. I think Wildcard's kind of done with this game. Getting ready for Arc 2, of course. But as far as the ocean content, I really, like I said, unfortunately, I don't really have an answer as to why the ocean was abandoned the way it was. Like I said, it seemed like they had high hopes, lots of things to do with the ocean, but then it just kind of poof, it was gone. uh, they added a few subaquatic animals like the baryonyx, the spino, and the sarco, and like I said, almost all of the Genesis 2 animals are at least subaquatic. Uh, but they never really added any more reason to go underwater. Um, with the like I said, just silica pearls and oil. That's really the only reason to go underwater nowadays. Of course, if you're on the island, you may want to. And you're trying to do the bosses to get your levels increased and everything, you may want to do the 2 underwater caves, so that might give you a small reason to have the water. But I mean, honestly, for PvP, having a water base, at least back in the day, most people would ignore it because it required you to have a base on the water's edge, which is where the beaches were and where all the noobs would spawn, and they'd mess with your stuff and everything. So really, most people just kind of ignored the water. And of course, this was before cryopods, so you couldn't just cryopod your little animals up and keep them in your base till you needed them or what have you. Um, so you know, that's really all I could actually say about the water. Like I said, unfortunately, there's not a lot of content in the water. I did a vote on Discord, on the Bloodsport Discord, to see what they wanted me to talk about, and this is what they picked. But unfortunately, this is really all I can talk about. It's something that I've wanted to talk about. Unfortunately, the sad fact is, like I said, there's not a lot to talk about. Because without really any real explanation, the ocean was just sort of abandoned. Um, and the one thing that kept the ocean viable, they completely ruined. Back in the day, I remember that made me really mad. But then somebody said that they thought that Wildcard had planned, this big ocean update, and they were gonna make it so much and underwater and stuff so much more viable. The only thing they ever actually added was the motorboat, which was the only thing that could outrun the lead sickness, because this little raft is not going to outrun the lead sickness. Maybe if you put Plan X on the side, it'll shoot the lead sickness and slow it down at least. Um, but again, uh, this was really it. This is all I can really talk about. I know that Genesis 1 actually added a underwater boss, but again, they didn't add any underwater animals to maybe help fight the boss. And it's not like, and I know that Wildcard definitely started gearing towards the side of more mythical animals, but it's not like there's not plenty of mythical animals that they could take from. Sea serpents and other things would have been a great additions to the game, but things that we never saw. Really, most of the animals in the ocean are interestingly mostly real. The basilosaur, mosasaur, they're they're more, they're larger, and some of them take more fantasy style than they would in real life. But I mean, they still exist. They still did exist. Most of them did. The Tusoteuthis, all of them, animals that really did exist in real life. So it's interesting to see that they didn't add any mythical animals. Maybe in a future update we'll get more ocean content. Um, I mean, things like the fact that they completely ruined the tropical wyvern. I remember way, way, way back in the day, right after they added Ragnarok, and they were talking about extra wyverns. The tropical wyvern was actually one that was supposed to be able to fly overhead and fly under the water. It would have been really cool. But again, things that never came to pass. Instead, now the tropical wyvern, in a fashion that makes absolutely no sense, just kind of touches the water and moves slightly faster. And that's really all we got. That's really, it's just small things that they've always added to the ocean. But again, I could rant about this for days. This recording has probably already gone longer than I planned it to, because it always does. I always get to ranting, and I apologize for that. Actually, no, I don't, because you're probably watching because I rant. Um, but anyway, guys, that's all I have for you today. So I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, maybe consider hitting that like and subscribe button so that way I can continue to make content like this, which I probably would anyway, because this isn't a job or anything. But it does make me happy to see my subscriber and like count go up. So do consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you all in another time and dimension, whenever or wherever that may be. Till then, peace out.